Up next, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, Noah's Ark, Adam and Eve. Why does it still matter to you today? We talk to the director of a new film called Roadmap Genesis after the break. Stick around. And welcome back. Well, a lot of people say the Bible doesn't matter today, that it's just an archaic collection of old writings that have no bearing on our lives in the year 2015. Well, a new film called Roadmap Genesis, The Map for Mankind, says otherwise. We're joined now by its director, Nolan Lebovitz. Nolan, welcome. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
You know, full disclosure, I appear in the film Roadmap Genesis, and as you know, you came here and you interviewed me in Washington, D.C., Nolan. I made many diva demands. We had a trailer set up outside.
No, not at all.
No, it was great. It was great spending time with you, and it was great getting to see your heart a little bit, Nolan. And look, start first of all. You told me about your faith journey when we spent time together doing the interview, but tell me first of all how you came up with this great idea. And it's a great film. It looks great, Roadmap Genesis. Tell me how you came up with the idea.
Well, I was a Hollywood filmmaker, and I made real Hollywood movies. And Sony released my last one called Tortured, that starred Lawrence Fishburne in 2008. And I woke up one morning after I'd gotten married, after I had my daughter, and the world just didn't look the same way to me as it had before. And I told my wife I was going to study to become a rabbi. And that was the beginning of my journey. The journey has led me to living in Israel last year, and it led me to this movie. Wow. Because every day I would basically come home from rabbinical school and tell my wife, we just read the most amazing thing at school, or I just heard the most amazing lecture that I should totally make a movie. I should go out and start pitching it. And she would tell me, just take it easy, just go learn, and then keep these ideas to ourselves until you really hit a good one.
And by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Nolan. What was your wife's, just curious, what was your wife's initial reaction? You're this Hollywood filmmaker, right, and you come home and say, hey, I want to be a rabbi. What was your wife's reaction to that?
Stunned, to be totally honest. But I think that, I say it in the movie, the journey would not have been possible without her.
Sure.
This is a journey that we've taken together with our kids. Yeah. And I think that it's made it all the more meaningful because of it. Right. Because, listen, I would study Hebrew biblical grammar by reading the book of Genesis to my son when he was an infant. And in full disclosure, he would fall asleep while listening to me read it in Hebrew. But it was really, it's part of the bond that I have with my children. And now when I read the Torah to them, when I read the 5 books of Moses every Saturday morning, and we read the stories and we talk about it, they're part of it. And I do it for them more than I do it for, myself.
Yeah, and you can see those family bonds that you mentioned, Nolan. I think they really shine through in the film. Talk about what Genesis means to you personally. Look, you obviously, you're going to rabbinical school, you're in Jerusalem, and there was this profound connection that you made with the book of Genesis. It was an eye-opening connection. Talk about that connection and what the book of Genesis means to you.
In the beginnings of this project, the idea was maybe I do a movie about all 5 books. Maybe I do a movie about the entire Bible. But the truth is that you can't make a movie about anything regarding the Bible unless you address the very beginning. Ken Ham says that in the movie itself. If you can't trust the beginning of the Bible, then you can't trust the rest of the Bible. And if you can't appreciate it, and my appreciation for Genesis as a young father was off the charts, because you can finally understand the stories, I believe, the way that they're supposed to be understood when you have children. When you're a son and when you have a child, like I was, you understand what it means to be a creator, what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a father, what it means to be a brother, what it means to be a neighbor. And all of that is addressed in the book of Genesis.
We got to stop right there. We're heading to a commercial, but much more coming up after the break with Nolan Lebovitz, director of a great new documentary. You see the link there on your film where you can get it, Roadmap Genesis. Much more with Nolan Lebovitz after the break. Stay tuned. And welcome back. We're talking to Nolan Lebovitz, director of a great new film called Roadmap Genesis, The Map for Humanity. Nolan, one of the things I love about the film is you interview both Christian and Jewish leaders. You mentioned before the break, Hal, look, you can't really understand the entire Bible, believe the Bible, unless you believe and understand the beginning where it all starts, Genesis. Talk about bringing Christian and Jewish leaders together for this film.
I just finished a round of travel here in this country where I walked in and screened the movie in evangelical churches across, Orlando, Dallas, Atlanta, Phoenix, all in a week. I woke up every day in a different city. And I walked into an evangelical church in Orlando, screened the movie, and a woman stood up and said to me, "Every Sunday I pray for the Jewish people in Israel, and you're the first rabbi who's ever walked into this church."
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And that way, the movie's been a blessing. It's been a blessing because it's afforded me the opportunity to meet so many incredible people across the country. And Jews and Christians in America, a country that was founded on the Judeo-Christian ethic, we're like first cousins that don't speak enough.
Right.
That's the truth. And if this movie helps a conversation, if it helps build bridges, which is really what it's supposed to do, if it can accomplish its goal of building that bridge to bring us back to the table together, it will have been mission accomplished.
Yeah. In the lead into our interview, Nolan, I mentioned that a lot of people think, look, the book of Genesis is not relevant today. The Bible is not relevant today. Right now we have ISIS, we have Iran driving for a nuclear weapon, chaos in the Middle East, chaos in the world, civil unrest in many countries. How is Genesis relevant today to everything that's going on in the world right now?
The Torah, the Bible, it's the antidote. And I know that sounds hyperbolic. I know that sounds like an exaggeration. But the children of these insane fanatics, of these Muslim extremists, they're super proud of what they learn, and they hold these beliefs to be true. And our children go to school and are taught to question everything, including the foundation upon which this country was founded, the very Judeo-Christian ethic that holds the Bible to be integral. God is there at the beginning of the founding of this country, and yet children are discouraged to discuss God in schools today in America. And this today is the dilemma. It's our dilemma. How do we raise our children to face the world as it is? Not the way that it should be, not the way that we'd like it to be, but the way that it is. And the way that it is a harsh place where people will challenge them literally, physically, militarily. Jews and Christians are being slaughtered across the Middle East. And the Bible brings us back to a place where we understand who we are and what our mission in the world is. And I think that the book of Genesis, it really acts like the roadmap. Roadmap Genesis is not only the name, in many ways it's the way I believe that my own children should be educated.
And Nolan, you look at the stories, you talk about the hardship. It's a cruel world in many times, especially now, especially for Jews and Christians in the Middle East. You look at the stories of resilience in the book of Genesis, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Noah's Ark. It goes on and on. This is all in Genesis, stories of great overcoming great odds, of great obedience, faith, trust in God. I think it's just incredible. And you hit on all of that in the film with just an all-star cast of commentators talking about the relevance of Genesis today. Where's the best place we can see it? Tell us the best place to see Roadmap Genesis. And I encourage everyone to see this film.
If you go to our website, www.roadmapgenesis.com, you can buy a DVD, you can buy several DVDs and spread the word, which is what we're trying to get people to do. Or off the website, it'll lead you to iTunes and you can download it off iTunes if you'd like to see it that way. But go to the website, www.roadmapgenesis.com.
Excellent. Nolan, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the film. Great job, my friend. God bless you. Keep up the great work. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Eric.